Welcome to this week's vlog, and it's been another hectic week in Westminster. We knew that the US negotiations were moving forward at pace, but I don't think any of us believed that we would have a deal announced yesterday. Ever since so-called Liberation Day on the 2nd of April, we've had real concerns about what negotiating position the UK government would take. Several sectors of our economy, particularly automobiles and steel, faced significant tariffs, which meant that they were going to face real economic challenges, and that was going to have a wider impact on the UK economy. We didn't want agriculture to be used as a pawn in those negotiations. Clearly in the Labour manifesto, there was a commitment to upholding our high standards of animal health and welfare. And we've had regular conversations with the Secretary of State, Steve Reed, and also Jonathan Reynolds, Department for Business and Trade. It feels like through these negotiations, the government have stood firm to their commitments and they've upheld our standards of production. We also were adamant that we must have reciprocal access back to the US market if there was going to be any access given to our prized market that the US have been seeking access to for many years. So with the tariff rate quota on beef, clearly we're going to allow in an extra 13,000 tons of US beef. So they're going to have a 14,000 ton quota, which is going to be tariff free. We have got a reciprocal tariff rate quota access back into the US market. It will still face some tariffs between 4 and 10%, depending on the cut. It's more likely it's going to be at the 4% end. So it's not fully liberalized, but we do have access back to that US market, which is something that we've been working on, particularly with our agricultural attaché over in Washington, to try and get access to that market. We are very concerned about the impacts for the bioethanol sector. I think there's 1.4 billion litres of fully liberalised access without any tariffs for bioethanol coming in from the US. Whether this undermines our domestic bioethanol sector is a very genuine concern. If we don't have a viable bioethanol sector, then clearly the wheat that's going into bioethanol and the reduced demand is going to have an impact on the market and the ability to sell that product. The arable sector is already under huge pressure, and we have a very real concern that we're working on with the bioethanol sector and with DEFRA to try and understand those wider consequences. But when we look at the US trade deal and the India trade deal in the round, it does feel like the government have stuck to their manifesto commitments, that they haven't sacrificed UK agriculture, although we have carried the burden of responsibility when it comes to trying to reduce those 25% tariffs for the wider economy. Our real concern now is that there are still 10% tariffs in place. Most of our food exports will still have 10% tariffs on them. The UK government is clearly going to continue negotiations. Yesterday it was Lord Mandelson that said, this is the end of the beginning and further negotiations will take place. Agriculture cannot burden any more of the responsibility as we look to negotiate down those existing tariffs. Our team will continue to work through the detail. We'll keep you updated with any information that we think you need to know, and I look forward to updating you next week.